person in authority, while the helper was charged with attempted murder. The DILG also asked at least 63 local officials to explain election violations they supposedly committed, including vote buying, but there is no formal complaint yet. Meanwhile, 25,000 people were either caught not wearing face masks or observing physical distancing from April 1 to 4. The PNP has yet to clarify whether the incidents happened during campaigns. It's also unclear whether there were politicians or organizers penalized.
Pag ginawa natin yung general rule na yan na lahat mananagot ng kandidato, wala nang matitirang kandidato sa Pilipinas. Kasi nga, campaign period ngayon. That is why we go to specifics. Kung sino yung violators, kunin natin. Kung merong specific violations yung kandidato, then we investigate or prosecute him.
Pulse Asia says significant developments could still alter the results of its next voter preference survey. Presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos maintained his lead in the March survey, but dropped by 4 points to 56%. Voter preference for his closest rival, Vice President Leni Robredo, jumped from 15% to 24%. For Pulse Asia President Ronald Holmes, the 9% increase is significant, but says Robredo would still need to woo more votes in Mindanao to boost her chances. But he also says that Marcos's lead is unprecedented since past candidates never got more than 50% of voter preference. Holmes notes an improved messaging on the platforms of candidates could turn things around.
In 2016, in the same survey we conducted in March, pumapangalawa na si dating Mayor Rodrigo Duterte na bilang kandidato sa pagkapangulo. Ibig sabihin nito ay malaki pang potensyal na magbago sa Abril dahil marami pa ang maaring kaganapan at mayroong mga kaganapan na talagang sa sobrang makabuluhan, maaring ito magdulot ng paglipat o pagbabago ng boto ng mga botanteng Pilipino.
Then presidential candidate Rodrigo Duterte overtook his rival, Senator Grace Poe, by 5 points in the Pulse Asia voter preference survey held from late March to early April of 2016. The vice presidential survey held in the same period shows Marcos leading the pack with 6 points away from Robredo. Manila Mayor Isko Moreno congratulates the frontrunners of the latest Pulse Asia survey as he insists he's unfazed by his lower numbers. Moreno's voter preference dipped from 10 to 8%.
Congratulations to them. Yun na sinabi ng survey. I would like to congratulate them. I'm happy for them. Ano pa rin, diretso sa tao. Kami ang pupunta sa tao. It's always like that. I've been doing that since 1998, 2001, 2004, 2007, 2010, 2013, 2016, 2019. Ganun din ang gagawin. Basic. Straightforward. Hindi magarbo, hindi magastos na kampanya.
Labor leader Calyodi de Guzman also brushing off the results of the survey, where he ranked second to the last with less than 1%. He claims that politicians pay the people behind voter preference surveys to monitor their strongest opponents. But he notes that he will double, even triple his efforts to reach out to the public. The Labor leader is now proposing the use of taxpayers' money to fund the campaigns of candidates and to tap state media to level the playing field.
Yung pagpapakilala sa kakandidato, ang gagawa, gobyerno, using yung kanyang TV station, Channel 4, Channel 13, o kung ano man, para equal ang playing field at hindi mangyari na si Calyodi na galing sa sektor ay hindi kayang maglagay ng paid ad sa TV dahil wala na siyang pera. Pero kung may equal opportunity na binibigay ang ating gobyerno, equal lang.
Leni Robredo stands with her volunteers accused of having ties to communist rebels. The vice president insists she will never ally herself with anyone who uses violence to promote an agenda. She says the red tagging and attacks against volunteers started when her campaign began to gain traction. Senator Ping Lacson supports calls to remove the 20% tax from the honoraria of teachers rendering election duty. He says there is no time to lose for agencies who should act on the matter. The Alliance of Concerned Teachers trooped the COMELEC headquarters Wednesday, demanding a dialogue over the issue. children are among the most vulnerable sectors of society, more so orphans. What can the next administration do to help them? In this report, Carolyn Bonkin takes us to an orphanage in Maguindanao.
This is the IHH Orphanage Center in Cotabato City, one of the institutions caring for children in Mindanao who either lost their father or both parents. Mainly with the help of Turkish donors, they are provided with food, clothing, shelter, and medication. They also go to a nearby public school.
We want the orphans studying because orphans family, generally poor family.
This is where we met Lama. Anong pangarap mo?
Pangarap ko pong maging nurse. Gusto ko pong tulungan yung mga ibang tao.
But it's a far-off dream for now. Mafodsa, one of the social workers, says they could only afford to send children to public schools and they can only choose from limited courses.
Yung ibang orphans namin gusto nila ng ibang mas mataas na course pero hindi namin mabigay yun sa kanila dahil doon sa budget, naka-budget lang yung para sa kanila.
Lama's hope is to find a sponsor or a scholarship grant. The Philippine Orphanage Foundation says there are around 2 million orphans in the country. Mafodsa hopes the government could allot funds to send all orphans to the university and help them pursue their dream career. Mafodsa also grew up in the orphanage. Now she's caring for 99 teenage girls. She says half of the children here lost at least one parent in different wars in Mindanao and are left with emotional wounds. She took psychology to help them cope, but Mafodsa says children in other orphanages don't get regular psychosocial interventions. These are not the only concerns. We met Abdul Shatar and Hania, regular volunteers in different orphanages in the region. They say other institutions have no steady food and hygiene supplies.
Hindi kasi maiwasan na merong shortage. Kasi nga itong karamihan sa mga orphanage centers na meron tayo ay nakadepende ito sa mga sponsors from international.
A study on the children of war says there are no DSWD-accredited orphanages or shelters in the Bangsamoro region, nor dedicated national programs for war orphans. Without guidance, they run the risk of getting recruited by violent extremist groups.
Kaya malaking tulong din na nakakastay sa mga orphanage yung mga orphans kasi at least may supervision ng mga mudir.
Abdul Shatar says caring for the orphans should be part of the peace process in Mindanao.
Hindi lang dapat ang nire-rehab natin ay yung mga infrastructures, kundi pati mismo yung mga tao na apektado nito.
Now filed before the BARM Parliament is the Bangsamoro Orphanage Act of 2020, seeking to establish and regulate orphanages in the region. Specific plans for the orphans are rarely mentioned in politicians' election platforms. While orphans are not yet voters, they are our future. And just like Lama, all they want are basic needs and equal opportunity, just like the other kids. In Maguindanao, Carolyn Bonkin, CNN Philippines.
When we return, a low-pressure area brings massive flooding in parts of the Visayas and Mindanao, and the Philippines requires antigen testing for inbound travelers. Newsnight will be right back.
Sa dami ng taong nakalipas, salamat dahil hindi niyo kami iniwan. Kahit Dahil sa inyong tulong, mas naging maayos ang akala namin nakalimutan na. Basta't nariyan kayo, alam naming hindi mapapabayaan ang aming paghihirap para sa sarili, sa pamilya, sa kapwa, at sa bansa. Kampante kami, basta't kasama kayo.
Back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Massive flooding in parts of the Visayas and Mindanao brought by a low-pressure area. Classes and work suspended in Oras town in eastern Samar today because of the heavy downpour, while motorists traveling to Hipapad town are advised to take alternate routes to avoid the flooding. A bridge in San Fernando town in Bukidnon also closed to motorists. Several areas were hit by floods in the province, forcing over 600 families to flee their homes. Yesterday, troops from the Philippine Army's 10th Infantry Division rescued affected residents in Trento town in Agusan del Sur. Pag-asa says the Visayas and Mindanao will continue to experience cloudy skies with scattered rain showers. Same forecast for Mimaropa, Bicol, and Quezon Province. Cagayan Valley, Apayao, Kalinga, Ifugao, Aurora, and a mountain province will have cloudy skies with rains, while partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rains will be felt in Ilocos, Abra, and Benguet. Pag-asa expects partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers here in Metro Manila and the rest of Luzon. The LPA was last spotted 180 kilometers east-northeast of Hinatuan, Surigao del Sur. The Weather Bureau also monitoring a tropical depression near Mindanao, which may enter the Philippine Area of Responsibility by Monday. Filipinos are bringing back pre-pandemic traditions, with travelers filling up airports again in time for the Holy Week. As Lois Calderon reports, things may finally be returning to the so-called old normal in the country's gateways.
Nair becomes the country's busiest airport again, with passenger traffic almost returning to pre-pandemic level. Seats in waiting areas get filled, both with people and luggage. Queues are building up at check-in counters. Crowded boarding gates. Airport authorities estimate 27,000 people flying daily out of the city. That's 80% of the 33,800 for domestic departures logged on Palm Sunday of 2019. If you count the additional 36,000 flying in during Lent, pre-pandemic domestic traffic was up to 69,000 daily.
We're glad to note that there's an increase in volume, especially when the health protocols had been eased up. So what we're seeing starting from the Holy Week onwards is we're pretty much inching towards pre-pandemic volumes with a much further easing of LGU requirements. We are seeing at 100% already on very soon on pre-pandemic levels. That is for domestic.
I was surprised na ganong kagad nag-rebound yung local tourism natin. Marami tayong pasahero, especially actually yung sa Terminal 3 lang, pre-pandemic wise, we're almost 80%. During the pre-pandemic, we were able to cope with all the passengers that were using Terminal 3. So more so now, na medyo mababa pa ng mga 15-20% ang volume, kayang-kaya.
This young family is off to Boracay for a 4-day vacation with a grandma. People traveled in large groups of 10s and 20s, office colleagues and friends.
Magbabakasyon lang po sa Boracay. Hanggang linggo po.
May family gathering. Tapos sinama na kami ng boss namin. Excited po.
Coffee shops and restaurants are back in business too. The Transport Department gave airport concessionaires free rent until June.
I am encouraging them to take advantage of that para ho naman makabawi po sila at sumigla ang ating paliparan.
Data from the Manila International Airport Authority show nearly 800,000 travelers flew in and out of the city to visit local tourist spots during Lenten season of 2019, while almost 1 million was logged in terms of international passenger volume. The busiest days for this airport during this time of the year are Palm Sunday, when travelers fly out of the city, and on Easter Sunday, when they fly back. Lois Calderon, CNN, Philippines.
More travelers from other countries are also expected to visit the Philippines. The government greenlights the use of rapid antigen tests as a requirement for inbound travelers. Testing should be done in an accredited facility or health facility in the country of origin. Authorities also instructed to accept only IATF-approved vaccination IDs. The RT-PCR test is still the gold standard for COVID-19 testing. Now, this is why the World Health Organization reminds countries to keep the guards up amid the looming recombinant forms of COVID-19. Those variants are XD, or the combination of Delta and Omicron, and XE, or the hybrid of two Omicron subvariants. The WHO reiterates recombinants are expected, but it is closely watching the new variants.
We need to continue to assess the public health risk which is associated with these recombinant variants, because they have the potential to provide us with a greater challenge, as they could be more severe. They could result in a recombinant variant which evades our use of vaccines and other measures. And so therefore, we need to be vigilant, we need to continue testing, and we need to continue to identify any unusual events, any surges as quickly as possible.
Current studies do not see the recombinants as more contagious than the parent Omicron variant. Now, millions of families suffered losses when COVID-19 struck, but it is a completely different story for some businesses. George Quiles tells us the pandemic gave them hope to carry on.
The province of Romblon takes pride of its marble products, or marmol, beautifully crafted by their skilled artisans. From the mines, these stones are brought to the shop, where they are cut and polished to perfection. But just like any other industry, it was also hit by the pandemic.
Umina, maraming mga tao na natambay sa trabaho.
The light at the end of the tunnel came in a rather bizarre way. Thousands of deaths due to COVID-19 paved the way to keep their business afloat. Mayor Gard Montojo says the demand for marble urns and gravestones reached an unprecedented high, with thousands being shipped from their town weekly.
Ang order nun, pag namatay ka sa COVID, talagang i-cremate ka. So kailangan mo ng urn. Nung una, ayoko maniwala sa kanila. Sabi ko sa kanila, bigyan nyo ako ng sulat galing sa funeraria or ano kung sinong nag-order sa inyo, then I will give you a go signal for you to work again for the manufacturing of urns.
Medyo natatakot din kasi para mabili ang lapida eh. Oo, pero walang magawa, yun ang hanap buhay dito.
As the COVID-19 situation becomes more manageable, the demand for marble urns and gravestones gradually went down. But the interest in other marble products are slowly picking up, like in the souvenir shop in downtown Romblon.
Kasi sa akin, may online ako. Everyday talaga, okay. Okay na siya.
But ultimately, they wish that tourists will start coming back so that small businesses and local industries can fully recover from pandemic losses. From Romblon, George Quiles, CNN Philippines.
In other news, Malacanang says the Department of Migrant Workers, which was created to tackle concerns of Filipino workers overseas, has yet to be constituted. But this early, a controversy is already hounding the agency. Details from Tristan Nodalo.
A Senate leader cautioned Secretary Abdullah Mamao to go slow on the new Migrant Workers Department to avoid going against the law. Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon hits Mamao for his supposed attempt to disrupt the smooth transition of the agency and his wrong interpretation of the new law.
Mag-ingat po siya at pag pinilit niya, pwede siyang kasuhan ng usurpation of public functions. Kasong kriminal po yan. Hindi pwedeng lumagpas sa batas ang implementing rules and regulations. Kaya tawag dyan, implementing rules. Ini-implement mo kung ano yung batas. Wala pong kapangyarihan ang Secretary Mamao.
Drilon is also the author of the law creating the Migrant Workers Department. He says the election ban limits Mamao's power to transfer employees and officers to the agency.
Mali yung pagka-appoint sa kanya dyan. Kung mayroon kung may justification man, it is just to be a member of the Transition Committee. Wala po siyang kapangyarihan na gumawa ng sariling rules and regulations.
Mamao is asserting his authority and orders concerned agencies to submit to his jurisdiction. However, Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello and Executive Secretary Salvador Mejaldea are of the view that the new department is not yet constituted.
If the Department of Labor is claiming that the ILAB, the Polo offices, the Repatriation Center in the OWA, and that of the Maritime Polytechnic Institute are still part of the Department of Labor, that is their own choice. And we are here dealing with the law. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm sticking with the law. I will decide, I will act, and I will do anything that has something to do with the law.
Mamao has released implementing rules and regulations or IRR for the law, making things complicated. Some members of the transition committee say the document did not go through them. Sources in the DMW Transition Committee tell CNN Philippines Mamao's IRR faces constitutional and legal challenges. They add the Transition Committee is a collegial body and Mamao can't go through the process alone. OFW advocate and founder of the Blas Oples Center, Susan Toots Oples, says services may suffer at the expense of disagreements among authorities.
It's going out of bounds. We are all very concerned. We are appalled by the lack of transparency in the signing of the IRR. We asked for a ceasefire dun sa battle of the memos and for the president or for the executive secretary to intervene.
Ople adds concerned groups have asked the Justice Department for a legal opinion on the matter. In an interview, Mamao said all his actions were in line with the law.
The OFW sector is caught in a bind over disagreements on an agency that's supposed to protect their welfare. Groups appeal to Malacanang to step in and resolve the matter immediately. Tristan Udalo, CNN Philippines.
CNN Philippines is reaching out to Migrant Workers Secretary Abdullah Mamao for his comment on the issue, but he has yet to reply. Coming up on Newsnight, from 50 aspiring queens, the number of Miss Universe Philippines contenders has been trimmed down to 32. Plus, more and more U.S. shows have been added for this K-pop group's tour. Find out why after the break.
Pandemic, serving others is the best. Sa pagtutulungan, patuloy ang ating laban sa buhay. Kaya dapat always healthy. With proper diet, exercise, and MX3 coffee mix to ignite my day. Hi guys! Lagi akong focused, active, at extraordinary. Because the most important things in life deserve nothing less. MX3 coffee mix, my choice.
Mahirap mag-enjoy ng kinakain kung nangingilo ang ngipin mo. I strongly recommend Sensodyne. Clinically proven to help relieve pangingilo. So, mas masarap ang salo-salo.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. We're getting closer to finding out who will wear the Miss Universe Philippines crown next. The top 32 finalists were just unveiled. Among them are pageant veterans like Miss World Philippines 2019, Michelle D, and Miss Earth Philippines 2018, Celeste Cortez. Coronation Night is set for April 30 at the Mall of Asia Arena. Tickets for the Los Angeles Encore concert of K-pop sensation Twice ran out in under 30 minutes. Because of this, another show was added. The girl group's 3 world tour dates now include May 14 and 15 at the Banc of California Stadium. Concerts here in the Philippines have yet to be announced. Twice recently made it to U.S. touring history as the only female K-pop artists to have 2 different arena tours in the country. And that is it for tonight. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
This program is brought to you by
The campaign for local candidates begins this Friday, March 25, and as we're going to show you tonight, all politics is local. But first, a slice of national politics. The president's political party, at least half of or a faction of it, has endorsed the candidacy of survey frontrunner Bongbong Marcos. That was the announcement this morning. The other half, or the other faction, has Manny Pacquiao, but of course, he's running as Rondy standard bearer. In November last year, President Duterte rejected an alliance with Lakas CMD, his daughter's party, because she's running with Bongbong Marcos. The president called Marcos a weak leader. PDP Laban was founded by Nene Pimentel, Ninoy Aquino, and Lorenzo Catani Tanyada. Nene's son, Poco, pointed out the party was founded to oppose the Marcos dictatorship, and now it has endorsed the candidacy of the late dictator's son. Good evening, I'm Pia Ontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. Like we said, we begin tonight with national politics. Joining us now via Zoom is Senator Coco Pimentel of PDP Laban. But Senator Coco, before we talk, we're going to listen to a few sound bites this morning.
In due time, he will speak. Hindi naman tayo gagawa ng desisyon na magiging lihis sa pananaw din ng ating chairman.
It's only BBM na wala siyang sinabi, walang masamang sinabi kay Pangulong Duterte. In fact, pagkatapos ng mga nasabi sa kanya, he's still willingly saying na itutuloy ko kung ano yung sinimula ni Pangulo.
So how a PDP Laban, no, which has merged during the time of President Cory Aquino, no, can now support the candidacy of their founding fathers' nemesis is beyond any principled choice.
Senator Coco Pimentel joining us live via Zoom. Good evening, Senator.
Good evening, Pia, and good evening to all the viewers. Yes.
Are you calling Bongbong Marcos Adolf or Adolf Hitler Jr. now?
I use that analogy so that people will understand that PDP Laban was formed precisely to fight for our freedom, for our democratic values, for human rights and human dignity during the time of the Marcos martial law regime. So I use the analogy of if we were in Germany, no political party formed to oppose Adolf Hitler will support Adolf Hitler Jr. So sana klaro yung analogy ko at madaling maintindihan.
Ang sabi ni Secretary Cusi kanina sa press conference is that when he was asked precisely about that, no, that the party that was formed to oppose the dictatorship or the dictator is now endorsing the dictator's son, ang sinasabi niya is we have moved forward. What does that sound like to you when the PDP Laban Cusi faction says we have moved forward, and what would you say if you were told that to your face?
Yeah, he has no right to determine the direction of PDP Laban. In effect, he's saying that they want to hijack the party, but we are resisting the hijacking of the party. Talo lang kami mga kababayan sa media war kasi may mga media hunters yan sila, well-funded sila, kami wala. So, pero the reality is the legitimate members of PDP Laban, the old-timers, those who have sacrificed for the party, they are not for Bongbong Marcos. We have already made our decision in a formal proceeding. We are for Senator Manny Pacquiao for president. So, hindi po kami nadadala. Pero siyempre, dinadaan lang tayo sa media blitz and media relations handling. So, yun lang po ang nangyayari. But kami po, hindi kami nawawala ng landas. Alam namin yung direction po namin. And we also know our history. We know our constitution. We know our basic party principles. Kasama po dyan ang human dignity, consultative and participatory democracy, federalism, ayan po and Bongbong Marcos does not stand for all of these principles.
Resisting the hijacking of the party, there are petitions, a petition before the COMELEC, to determine which one is the so-called real PDP Laban.
Yes.
It is less than 50 days to go before the elections. Are you going to get a decision, you think, anytime soon? And is that going to make things clear for you?
It was Secretary Cusi who filed the petition. So I think that petition should be acted upon immediately by the COMELEC. And they should dismiss it. Look at, and we will actually move for this immediate dismissal by using as part of our evidence what they did today. Because they just showed the Filipino people that they really know nothing about the party. Because they are just usurpers, pretenders, hijackers of PDP Laban. So we will use what happened today as evidence against them that they are not legitimate PDP Laban members. And which is really true kasi if I look at the people surrounding him or around Secretary Cusi, ngayon ko lang po nakikita mga pagmumukha nila in a so-called party event. Mga baguhan lang lahat yan. So they have no right to determine the direction of PDP Laban.
And in that event, the Bagong Lipunan theme song was played, Senator Coco, and I'm sure you heard that earlier. Do you think that this means the endorsement by the PDP Laban Cusi faction, do you think that this means this is already an endorsement or an endorsement from President Duterte for Bongbong Marcos is coming soon?
I hope not. And because if the president wants to endorse a candidate, why cannot he do it by himself or directly? So, and then if he endorses Marcos, what happens to the words that he has spoken against Bongbong Marcos? So, kakainin niya po lahat yun. So, this is not an endorsement from the president because an endorsement must come from the president's mouth, no? But if this is, then he's eating his own words. I mean, how will we explain his criticism of Senator Bongbong Marcos as a presidential candidate? Sinabi yata niya, he's a weak leader and some other criticisms.
Yeah, and of course, everyone's waiting for what's going to happen next, kung ano yung, or if there will be a plot twist to this. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Senator Coco Pimentel.
Thank
but
you,
like we
thank you.
said,
Yeah, thank you.
all
Yeah,
politics is local. We're going local when we come back. Welcome back. This is Politics as Usual. Gregorio Goyo Larrazabal is better known or best known as a former COMELEC commissioner, having served from 2009 to 2011. But he's trading in that image for an attempt to run for Congress in his Leyte hometown. He's going up against Richard Gomez, mayor of Ormoc City, who's looking to trade places with wife Lucy Torres Gomez and gun for Leyte's 4th Congressional District. Goyo joins us from Ormoc via Zoom. Good evening, Sir Goyo. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Wag lang, sir. Goyo lang.
Goyo.
Okay na yan.
Okay, okay. From COMELEC commissioner to candidate. So, and you said on Twitter on the day you filed your COC, your certificate of candidacy, that, and we quote, "What started in COMELEC ends here in Ormoc." Can you describe in less than a minute that journey for us?
Well, I was raised by my parents to do public service and help people. I grew up in Ormoc. I'm a full-blooded Ormocanon. And we help people all over the Philippines now with electoral reform. But now it's time to refocus and help the people in the district.
Your parents, your mother Adelina was governor, your father Emeterio was Ormoc City mayor, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. But Goyo, you were supposed to run for senator. Why go for a congressional seat instead? And, you know, were your numbers too low or was it local politics?
Local politics. Kasi I've been asked to run in local politics matagal na. I always said no. But because of the problems here in the district, you really need to help people. And well, if you run for Senate naman, your constituency is national. Diba? There are some laws which I intend to pass which are national in scope. And I can still do that as a congressman, diba?
Right.
I can still do that. I can still pass the revised omnibus election code. I can still pass or push for other laws that can help the whole Philippines. But I can also address the concerns of the district.
Yeah, we're going to go back to your proposed legislation in just a bit. No, but I wanted to ask you first, what's it like to run against Richard Gomez, against Goma? His surveys show him well ahead. What do your surveys tell you, and what do you hear on the ground?
I like our trajectory, and I like the way we've been doing things. I don't want to say the numbers we have, but I'm pretty happy where we are now. But every day is a challenge. Every day is a challenge to educate people. Every day is a challenge to make the life of people we talk to better. And every day is an opportunity to make things better for the district.
Okay. Goyo, can you describe the 4th district of Leyte where you're running? No? So that's Ormoc City plus 6 municipalities.
Yes.
Albuera, Isabel, Cananga or Cananga?
Cananga.
Cananga, Matago, Merida, and Palumpon.
Matago, yes. So 6 municipalities in one city. It's about 325 registered, 25,000 registered voters. There's such opportunity for the district to grow. Unfortunately, the services that the people in the district need haven't been provided to them. So we need to address those.
Okay. And when you talk about providing those services, I was reading up on your platform for your district. No? So repair of barangay roads, over-the-counter meds, medicine, solar streetlights, water, barangay-based hospitals. But these are things that lawmakers, ideally, in an ideal setting, should not have to provide, but it's happening all over the country, no? And this is something that you're also going to have to do, right?
Yes, but like for example, the healthcare system in the district, it's so Ormoc-centered. In fact, literally everybody in the district, if they need to have an X-ray, they have to go to Ormoc. If they have to have the dialysis, they have to go to Ormoc. If they have to have an ultrasound, they have to go to Ormoc. This cannot be. You need to decentralize the healthcare services and make it available to the people in the different municipalities. This hasn't been taken care of for such a long time.
Well, how far are those municipalities from Ormoc?
Well,
and how long does it take for people? Yeah, I mean, if they don't have transportation, how long will it take for them to get to Ormoc?
Well, down south, Albuera is about 25 minutes. Up north, the farthest is about an hour and a half. In Palumpon, if you take the diversion road, it's about an hour. But that's not the distance is not the point. Because last year when Ormoc went to a lockdown, no one could go inside Ormoc. And so people, literally, there were some people who died in the borders. People who couldn't enter Ormoc City to get medical treatment died. And that's scandalous. We cannot let that happen again. We need to make sure that the healthcare services are provided to the residents in the district.
I enumerated the 6 municipalities apart from Ormoc that make up the 4th district because I wanted to ask this question of you. And is this relevant to you? No, which one, or is there a bellwether? No, is it Ormoc for the 4th district? Meaning, if this goes for you, the rest of the district follows. Is it Ormoc City or is it one of the other municipalities? And how strong or weak are you in that area?
Well, Ormoc City is comprised about 45% thereabouts of the whole voting population in the district. The next biggest LGU is municipality of Palumpon. I'm from Ormoc, so I believe we can get votes here. My family is from Ormoc. In fact, when I was in grade school, I used to be a sacristan in St. Peter's and Paul Parish. So I know the people here.
Okay. All politics is local, like we all know, and national candidates need to woo the local candidates. So the next question is, who are your presidential and vice presidential bets? This is something I asked you before we started the show. You have a very interesting answer. Sige, go ahead.
I ran as an independent. I believe all the presidential candidates are friends of mine. It's going to be a family decision who we vote for. At this point in time, I would encourage Pia, all your viewers, to vet the candidates they want to vote for, not just for president, but down to councilor. What are their platform government? What are their track record? What's their track record? What can they do not only for the country, but for example, for an LGU official or candidate, what can they do for the municipality or city?
So you're not exactly answering the question, Goyo. You're not saying who you're going to vote for or who you prefer.
I'm saying, I ran as independent. I'm categorized as an independent candidate.
Yeah.
But if there are candidates who want me to help them, I will help them because they're all friends.
But you have chosen someone, a tandem that you will vote for. You have.
Not yet. Sorry,
not yet. Okay. But you also said earlier, no, that you're running so that you can advocate for electoral reform and you work to revise the, for example, omnibus election code provisions. Like which ones?
Oh, where to start? First,
you have less than 3 minutes, huh?
Okay, less than 3 minutes. First, you have to look at how do you merge the different provisions of the different laws. Some refer to manual elections, some refer to automated elections. Then you look at the penalties for acts committed by candidates and supporters. Then you look at the process on how to make it more efficient. Then you also look at this expense limit for candidates to incur on during the campaign period. You also have to look at the categorization of a candidate after the filing, because of current jurisprudence, you're a candidate only at the start of campaign period. We have to address that. We have to change that.
Okay. In other words, an overhaul, almost complete overhaul of age-old vintage.
Yes, I've spoken to former COMELEC commissioners. I've spoken to COMELEC officials, and I've already told them that if hopefully I win, I need their help because we need a holistic approach on how to make the elections even better.
And if you don't make it, what are you going to do? Are you going to go back on the road, either on your Defender or your bike, and to your music? What are you going to do?
Well, Pia, I'm an election lawyer and I'm an election reform advocate. I will always be involved in public service, so whether as a member of the House of Representatives or as Goyo, you continue to do good for people whenever you can.
Goyo Larrazabal. Sorry, what were you saying? You're going to join us in the last segment of the show, so you can save that for that final segment. Goyo Larrazabal, a congressional district candidate for the 4th District of Leyte. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you in the last segment of the show. Like I said, we'll be back after break. This is Politics as Usual. Welcome back. This is Politics as Usual, your weekly political appointment fix. Glad you're staying with us. How lucky can Vico Soto get? A first-timer in Pasig politics when he ran for mayor in 2019, and now 92% in Publicus Asia's survey of Metro Manila mayoral candidates and their chances against a rival who just filed a cyber libel case against him. On Friday, Vico starts his re-election campaign. Mayor Vico Soto, welcome to the show and to the studio.
Hi, Miss Pia. Thank you for having me.
Pia lang, don't say Miss Pia.
Respect to elders daw po.
Aray ko, ano yan? Okay, let's talk about your rival, si Vice Mayor Iyo Bernardo. No? So, meron siyang Facebook post about yung pag-file niya ng cyber libel case against you. No? Tapos, nag-comment ka ng haha or something. Give us a little background first of that case. And, did you say anything libelous about him?
Well, obviously, I don't think I said anything libelous.
What did you say, and when, and where?
During one flag ceremony, one Monday morning, I was responding to some of the complaints or allegations that he was making. And I told him, through the flag ceremony, hindi ko naman siya nakakausap eh. Sinabi ko sa kanya na, sana kung meron siyang complaints, use the formal mechanisms of the city first. Use the local special bodies, which he is actually a member of.
And he is vice mayor anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. So he has access to those channels.
Basically, what I was saying is that, okay lang mamuna. Okay lang na punahin niya ako. That's part of my work. To be criticized is part of my work. And I accept criticisms wholeheartedly. And sometimes we get good things from criticisms. But bago ka mag-post sa Facebook or kung saan-saan magsasalita, membro ka naman ng local special, halimbawa, reklamo sa basura. Member naman siya, pwede naman siya kahit hindi formal member, as vice mayor, he can always attend the Solid Waste Management Board.
Doesn't he? Doesn't he attend?
Not really, but Ms. Pia, I would rather not talk about it din kasi unfair din naman sa kanya, hindi naman siya makakasagot ngayong gabi. So I don't want to be unfair to him also.
Yeah, but he also said, just one last thing, he also said that you were saying things about his family. Did you say anything about his family?
I've never said anything about his family.
And so you did not say anything libelous about him, in other words, or his family, no?
Yeah, I really
Okay.
didn't.
Okay, let's move on.
Tsaka
Sige.
hindi cyber. Sorry lang.
Yeah, hindi cyber. Hindi cyber, okay.
I didn't post anything online or say anything online. That was physically,
Right,
in
during,
person.
like you said, during the flag
during,
ceremony.
yes, so,
Okay, all right. Let's move on, like I said. So you have an uncle running for vice president, so si Tito Sen, Senate President Tito Soto, and you had a meeting with him and his running mate, Ping Lacson, that your dad set up, or at least that's what your dad said. And then last Sunday, Leni Robredo paid a courtesy call on you before she went to her rally in Ortigas. And I remember when you explained why you didn't want to have to support or endorse a presidential candidate and a presidential and vice presidential tandem. And I paraphrase, you said that you needed to concentrate on the city's problems. But recently you've been quoted as saying that people, your constituents, should be able to choose well on their own. No? What comes to mind is all politics is local.
Right.
Because syempre, yung mga national candidates talagang manunuyo yan di ba?
Right.
Lalapit sila sa inyo, sa mga
Right.
local candidates. No? So give us an idea about what you're going through, what you meant by, I want to concentrate on Pasig. Ayoko makialam dun sa national politics.
There are two major reasons why I'm not endorsing any national candidate. Number one, my mandate right now is to focus on Pasig. Mabigat yung ginagawa namin mga pagbabago sa Pasig. Hindi madali yung laban namin. Madugo yung laban na ginagawa namin para linisin ang ating pamahalaan. Number two, we have to look at the history of Pasig and the reason why I ran for mayor in the first place. Ang Pasigueño, nanawa na kami sa dikta, sa pananakot, masyadong napupolitika lahat ng mga bagay. So we're coming from that history. Now we want to make a stand that Pasig is open. Ang mayor ngayon hindi magdidikta sa inyo. So I hope, especially if you're not from Pasig, maybe you wouldn't understand. I know some people also criticize me for not endorsing national candidates, but we have to understand the context and the history of Pasig and why I'm going a little bit to the extreme of not endorsing anyone. But again, it's to move away from what we were before. Na may pananakot from City Hall, na may dikta galing sa mayor.
Moving away from patronage politics or from...
That also, yes.
Yeah, yung para bang pag ako mayor, huwag kayong mag-alala, yung mga boto ng mga tao dito sa inyo yan lahat. Hindi,
Yes,
it doesn't
so-
work, right? I mean,
Anyway, naniniwala naman ako, ang Pasigueño, matatalino, mapanuri. So, we can stand on our own and think for ourselves as Pasigueños. Hindi na kailangan ng mayor para magsabi na, hindi, dito tayo lahat. Again, it's going, I know it's a little bit extreme what I'm doing right now, but we didn't get to where we are in Pasig by not being extreme. We had to take stands. And kung ano yung dati, medyo opposite tayo kasi ito, naninindigan lang naman tayo. We're moving away from the culture of patronage, the culture of fear, the culture of traditional politics.
the culture of a city mayor promising the votes in his city to the candidate.
Wala naman pong ganun eh.
Yeah,
Just like when I ran for mayor, none of the barangay captains supported me. They all promised the incumbent that he would win in their barangays,
And he didn't.
X number of votes.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, it's the same for me. Barangay captains can't really deliver votes sa barangay, and the same, mayors can't really deliver votes in cities or municipalities. That's a myth.
Yeah.
Minsan nakakachamba. If I endorse a certain candidate, minsan kasi malakas na, kaya rin naman ni-endorse eh. But kung ako magsabi, candidate A tayo, hindi naman ibig sabihin susunod lahat ng Pasigueño. And again, that's what we're That's one of the things that we're fighting against.
Yeah.
We want to go against that, that system, that culture of politics.
For that matter, in any
politics.
other city or in any other municipality or in any part of the country, right? But so you're not going to endorse a candidate for president and or vice president. You're not going to announce it either.
Right.
But of course, you are going to vote for a president and a vice. Have you at least made up your mind already? Kanina I asked Goyo, and he said he hasn't made up his mind. Lahat sila kaibigan. Parang pareho kayo ng position. Have you made up your mind?
Right now, I wouldn't say I've made up my mind 100%, but I have my leanings.
Okay, so you're choosing
if I had,
between...
if there were a ballot in front of me right now, I would know who I would shade.
Yeah.
But yun pa ba sa Mayo? I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, but you're choosing what? Between 2 or 3? 2.
Sa presidente?
Oo.
Basta.
I'm not naman asking you to name them eh.
But, mga tao, ano na yan, they will try to guess, haka-haka na yan.
Yeah. Oo. Okay. I wanted, since we talked about passing the barangay captains, and you were saying, hindi naman totoo yan, na parang, and like you said, no, chamba, that's a very good word to use to describe the situation on the ground. But, if you talk about the barangays in Pasig, is there such a thing as one particular barangay or a few are the bellwethers, the ones that will determine if this one goes for you, the rest follows? Meron bang ganon? And this is just for mga people who are interested in local politics.
Hindi po ako naniniwala na may ganun. We have 30 barangays very different from each other. Meron kaming barangay na nasa 1,000 o 2,000 lang yung populasyon. Meron kaming barangay na nasa ilang 100,000, or 150,000 plus. So,
and then iba-ibang economic status syempre, no?
Iba-ibang economic status, iba-iba yung physical, yung itsura. So I wouldn't say that there's one yung susunod lahat. Every barangay has its own unique characteristics.
Okay. Earlier you were saying that you had your hands are full in Pasig. There's so much that you needed to fix, no? And now, Publicus Asia, like I said earlier, they're saying 92%. No, that's your chances, no, of winning. Can you tell us what else would you like to do for Pasig? What else are you going to do if you do win in May?
Number one, we have to continue the reforms. We've started a lot, especially with our procurement process. We really cleaned up the system. But number two, we want to continue with our advocacies, particularly for universal healthcare. Because of COVID-19, I think it's understandable that a lot of our plans for UHC have been delayed. But even with the delays, we've made a big progress. We've started no balance billing in our hospitals, in our city-run hospitals.
No balance billing meaning?
Zero balance billing. So walang binabayaran yung mga constituents pag may hirap. Sa aming dalawang city-run hospital, we've created more than 1,000 plantilla positions, new plantilla positions for our city health department at marami pang iba. Kaso dahil sa pandemya, dahil sa COVID-19, ay kinailangan din namin gumawa ng mga hakbang para sa COVID response. Halimbawa, yung ospital namin, kinonvert namin panandalian para maging COVID referral center. We had to increase the number of beds from 60 plus beds to almost 200 beds. We had to establish a Pasig City Molecular Laboratory, contact tracing center. We had to hire emergency healthcare workers for COVID response. And I can go on and on for an hour just detailing the things that we've had to do for COVID-19. So everything that we've had to do for COVID-19, we understand why we need to do that or why we needed to do that. Unfortunately, it's every step we make for COVID, that's resources that we could have used
elsewhere
to implement universal healthcare in the long run. Of course, hindi naman yan binary na you have to choose one or the other. Yung iba naman may byproduct din na ngayon magagamit namin for COVID-19 pero in the long run magagamit din naman talaga for healthcare services in Pasig towards UHC. But again, unfortunately, we have to admit that there are setbacks also. So we need to realign and re-strategize moving forward, especially at the tail end of the pandemic. We're happy with the progress that we've made, whether it's universal healthcare and all of the other things that we've done in the last 3 years. But not as fast as we would have, we would have done if not for the pandemic.
Yung sinasabing 92% ng publicus Asia, do you feel that?
Well, I don't want to be overconfident. Sa akin naman, whether 92% or 29%, pareho lang naman ang gagawin ko eh. Work as hard as I can and do everything that we can and try to implement the programs and projects as we've planned.
Your allies, Roman Romulo running for Congress
Yes.
again, Duda Jaworski, who is your running mate. Let's talk about them for a while.
Well, Kong Roman has been with me from the start. Without a Congressman Roman, there is no Mayor Vico.
What do you mean by that?
Well, he was with me every step of the way. I wouldn't have decided to run for mayor in the first place if not for kung di ko alam na pwede kong sandalan si Kong Roman. We've been partners ever since. For before the pandemic, we saw each other every day for maybe more than 1 year straight na talagang nagsawa na kami sa isa't isa. Pero he's been such a big help. He's very level-headed. Kahit di niya natrabaho, ginagawa niya, makatulong lang sa akin. Which is especially helpful considering that in 2019, we did not have a full slate. Wala kaming pinatakbong vice mayor, wala kaming kasamang konsyal, except one per district, pero 6 yun eh. So, thankfully, nanalo din siya. Kung hindi ko alam kung anong gagawin ko. Hindi sa tulong niya. Hirap ng nag-iisa kasi. I have to, I always remind myself also that I entered this arena not to win elections, but, I decided to run for mayor to institute changes in our city.
Public service. And Duda Jaworski, very briefly.
Well, Dodo Jaworski, hopefully Vice Mayor Dodo Jaworski very soon. As a mayor, I need to have a vice mayor. It will be very, very helpful to have a vice mayor who, para sa akin, hindi sapat yung magaling, matalino, masipag. Kailangan may integridad at kailangan kapareho ng prinsipyo ko. Our vision and our principles have to be aligned.
Right.
And, to put it very bluntly, I saw that, in all of the potential candidates at the time for vice mayor, kay Dodo Jaworski ko nakita yun.
Okay, we have less than a minute to go, but let's pretend this last minute is Sports Desk with Andre Felix. That's 10 a.m. every morning, by the way, Mondays to Fridays. And I saw this video of you on Instagram, and let's watch it first for a while.
Basketball, yeah. Malakas talaga si Mamba.
Okay.
Pero kaninang umaga nagmintis na ako.
Ano yan? Kaninang umaga, ano yan, Vico? Mayor Vico?
I was on a very hot streak. Malakas lang talaga chumamba sa basketball.
Chamba na naman.
Pero kaninang umaga, pumalya na.
Okay, I was about to say, let's talk about that lucky shot of yours. Ang swerte mo na sa politika, swerte mo pa sa basketball. And I was telling you na nga, di ba, pag hindi ka pa nanalo dahil sa shot na yan, ewan ko na. So, Vico, Mayor Vico Soto, you're going to join us in the last segment of the show together with Goyo Larzabal and our last guest who's coming up after this break, Cebu gubernatorial candidate Ace Durano. Politics as usual. We'll be right back.
Berto po, nagsasaka